RotoGrinders, Dean here. Apologies already right off the bat for the noise in the background. It is storming really, really good here in South Florida. Hopefully it'll pass soon, but if you guys can hear that weather, it's thankfully there's no ballpark there's no games going down in Miami today or this evening, and they also have a roof here. Back in the day, man, it was tricky. When the Marlins, they're right now, so that was pre-DFS, I think, right? 2011, 2012. I don't know when that new ballpark jumped in. Yeah, the old Joe Robbie Stadium, old Pro Players Stadium, currently Hard Rock Stadium. They actually have a roof on it now too. I think they were required to put a roof on it by the NFL if they wanted to host more Super Bowls going forward. But why are we talking about that? We got to talk about tonight's MLB DFS slate. This is the start of 2 hours plus nonstop MLB DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. Crunch time today. You all get STL cards, Justin Van Zuiden, and I believe the Juggalo Bob himself, that is Chris Kirkwood, Kirkdiese, and of course Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth will be holding that down. Yes, Brett, it was called Landshark Stadium at one point too. I feel like that was short-lived. I don't think Landshark happened terribly long, but a beverage. I believe it's an adult beverage, Landshark. I've never dabbled in Landshark. What's up, Will? How are things in your world? How's Tuesday treating you? Fresh off the Take Your Pick'em show, 10:30 this morning, and you're back. Of course, you're going to sprinkle in some of your favorite player props through those various sites, Prize Picks, Underdogs, things of that sort throughout the show, and we're going to talk some DFS as well. How are things, Will?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Another day, another dollar. Hopefully, this slate can come through for us in a big way. Had a nice day yesterday. Obviously, kind of had a little sweep there for Take Your Pick'em. So if I get the sweep and you get the sweep, we get the sweep. It's usually a good day. So hopefully, all of that can parlay into today. So Dean, listen, I like big days, but I like big back to back days. I hate when I have a big day and then you go 2 or 3 days and then you have another. Like, I like to string them together. I like to get the momentum going, get the flywheel going. And so hopefully we can help some people do that today.
Do you, for those that missed the show, of course, 10:30, you come on before Blender's show. Blender show's at 11 o'clock in the morning, Monday through Friday, and you run through your favorite plays. And some of the lines probably have adjusted. They probably changed, maybe getting a little less. I guess the book's got a little bit sharper as the day progresses, but maybe you can sprinkle in a few of your favorite plays as the show progresses all the way up to when we hand it off to crunch time.
Oh, yeah, I don't mind throwing a few in. I didn't do a Prize Picks video today. I just did Take Your Pick'em. So, I don't mind plugging in a few plays across the industry. Maybe I can recap some of the plays that I went over that may still be available.
All right. We'll hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications, do all those things to help us keep producing this show for free. So, a certain threshold, I don't know, 50 or whatever the number is as far as likes, then we'll go ahead and you can unleash some of your favorite plays. And obviously, this is a DFS-centric show. It feels kind of like a run back of yesterday's slate, Will. And you are going to be playing the role, Will. You're playing the role of Will. Like I know in a previous show, we did a little Freaky Friday thing. The people are talking about it in the chat right now. Sort of a spontaneous thing. But as far as we know, you're going to be Will throughout Chief Justice throughout the entire show, and I'm going to be Dean, and that's that?
Yes, I will be myself. You will be yourself. All is well in the world. And yes, Steve is correct. My show will be at 10 o'clock tomorrow, not 10:30, because of the MLB slate's going to be starting earlier.
Oh, that tells me that I probably have an early show, doesn't it? Is that what I'm learning right now on air? That I have 2 shows tomorrow probably. I've not looked at it's daily fantasy sports. We care about today and today only. I've not looked at tomorrow's slate. I did see that Gavin Williams is going to draw his first major league start ever against the Oakland Athletics, and I have him on my season-long team. So I'm excited. I know people really care about my season-long team. Well, he's a big-time stud, and I'm really curious where he's going to land in the as far as asking price, because historically some of these sites, they kind of goof it up. So, and I'm not even sure if they're on a main slate or what slate they're on. But Gavin Williams, I'm already excited about the prospect of watching him tomorrow versus Oakland. Today's slate is kind of like a run back of yesterday's in my head. I'm curious how you feel about it. Once again, Cincinnati's the most popular offense. Yes, America's team, the Cincinnati Reds. And if I may take a victory lap, I tweeted out less than 2 weeks ago. I said, hey, there are crazier things you can do, Will, than bet the Cincinnati Reds to win the NL Central at 25-1. And they've run off, 8 or 9 wins in a row. They brought in Ellie De La Cruz. They have a couple other guys, Encarnacio Strand's another guy they can call up. Maybe Lodillo gets healthy soon enough. Big-time arm. Joey Votto's back. That Central's pretty weak. The Cardinals have been terribly underwhelming this season. It's now plus 440. So, I wouldn't say to get out of it, but you're feeling pretty good if you're holding yourself a 25-1 ticket on the Reds.
Well, let me just one up you there, Dean. I'm not sure if you've seen that episode from the Impractical Jokers. They just kept one upping each other. But me and one of my good friends from Scores and Odds and RG got in on the Pirates to win the division before the season started. So,
okay,
how about those apples? Trust me, it was better than 25-1. I can tell you that right now.
You're dropping me a little Goodwill Hunting there. How do you like them apples? I've re-ranked my favorite movies of all time, and I'm pretty sure I think that's my favorite movie of all time. Will, I don't know.
So after watching Shrek, Shrek is now number 2 for you, I'm assuming?
I did watch Shrek. I'm a man of my word. I lost a bet yesterday with TJ, and my punishment was to watch Shrek. And it's a perfectly fine kids movie. Like, it's well executed. It's well done. It's got a good moral. It's got a good message. I could see if I was 7 years old, I would have loved it. Watching it as an adult, it's fine. I wasn't miserable. It was quick. I appreciated that. Like, only an hour and a half. I just finished it like a half hour ago, to be honest. I watched half last night and half today. And it's fine. I mean, do I want to see Shrek 2? Not really. I mean, would I watch it? I wouldn't hate watch it. It was okay. It was fine. Good job. Good job, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, and Cameron Diaz, and John Lithgow. There you go. Spectacular job. Good Will Hunting is by far not a number one movie. It's good, but mostly meh. What is good? What is it? Well, first of all, these are opinions. What is your favorite movie? I'm just reading the chat now. I'm getting tilted. I mean, Shawshank is like, have you ever met anybody who does not like Shawshank? Like, who's ever watched that movie and said, nah, this didn't do it for me? Like, that's like universally just a spectacular movie. Yes? Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I think most people like Shawshank.
Yeah. I've never met anybody that like that. Nah, that wasn't any good. Yeah, it didn't do anything for me. Fair enough. I think it's like 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, if I'm not mistaken. It's close to it. And now people in chat are just throwing out their favorite movies of all time. Cinderella Man, Russell Crowe, boxing movie. Apocalypse Now, Alex is saying. I've not seen Apocalypse Now. As a cinephile, I feel like I should, but it's like 4 hours long. I know about the napalm in the morning, but I'm aware of some of the lines, but not seen that one just yet. Dirt McGirt says Shawshank and has a picture of a garbage can. That's outrageous. Come on. Get out of here. Get out of here, Dirt McGirt. What's your favorite movie? Joe Dirt? I don't know. Why am I assuming that? Joe Dirt's fine, I guess. I mean, whatever for what it is. Why am I getting derailed? I'm easily derailed. All right. It's an intimate show, 2-man booth, just the two of us. Your usage has to go up today. The initial point that I was making here before I derailed myself is that today's slate is much like yesterday's slate, right? It's not a full slate, 11 games, more than we had yesterday, but same old story. We have the Cincinnati Reds are popping. Their total is closing in on 6, facing a Colorado Rockies team. It's not very good. Their bullpen's bad. The environment to hit baseball is a spectacular. 5.85 is their team total. The only other team total in the 5s, I believe, is Cleveland at 5.5 versus Oakland, the combination of the opener that is Waldichuk, the projected long man that is Luis Medina. Is Arizona? No, Arizona not even closing in on 5. That's it. And then we have a bunch of pitchers that are all good, but you can poke holes in every single one of them, and there's none that very clearly separates himself from the field. And that's kind of how I felt yesterday. Tell me if you see it wrong. I'm curious what your take is, because I think there's 4 that are kind of in a box, in a bucket, however you want to phrase that, in their own tier.
So what are your 4?
Garrett Cole, Clayton Kershaw. Now I have to pull it up. Garrett Cole, Nathan Eovaldi, and Framber Valdez. I think those are the 4 best arms.
Okay. Valdez is probably going to be on the outside looking in for me. but that's just I think he's good. I don't think he's great. That I mean I'm like low on him personally. Today I don't think I'll end up there. Eovaldi's definitely in my top 3 today. In terms of Garrett Cole, I think the matchup with Seattle is what is giving me more interest. I am slightly down on Garrett Cole right now, though, like generally speaking, because his K stuff has been a lot lower on the season, and then even over the past 30 days, it's been lower as well. So, but once again, a matchup with Seattle can absolutely unlock a little bit of upside. So that's kind of where I am with Cole. You know, they do have some strikeouts in the middle of this lineup. But just so people can kind of get an understanding of why I'm a little bit lower on Garrett Cole, and this is something that is cool about the new Plate IQ. You can look at a comparative analysis from between this season and last season. Last season, Garrett Cole had a 32% K rate. This season, he's at 25. Like that's a 7% drop off. And then over the past 30 days, Dean, he's seen a 4% drop off even outside of that. So for the past 30 days, his K rate's been 21% versus 25% on the season. Once again, it's a matchup with Seattle. And so I understand that the upside is absolutely available for him today. But if he goes out and gets, I don't want to say shell, but doesn't particularly get the strikeouts, gives up, more runs than we would like. Like I'm always okay with any ace giving up 2 or 3 because if they can get 8 to 9 strikeouts, like I kind of don't care. But if the strikeout stuff isn't there and he gives up 4 runs and gets 5 Ks, like it's going to set us back. So that's kind of how I feel about Garrett Cole. I'm a little lower on him probably than the industry is, just in general. So most slates right now, I'm not getting to Garrett Cole because I'm really afraid of the strikeout drop-off. Once again, our projections have him picking up about 8 strikeouts. I think the bat is somewhere close as well. But I did want to put that out there, and I'm not trying to convince anyone to not play Garrett Cole. I'm just giving reasons as to why I'm not playing him so that you can maybe, just stew on that and think about it throughout the show. At the top of my list,
can I just jump in and give a retort as far as
absolutely.
Cole? Yeah, so this season, like you said, the Ks are down, but still 26.4%. That's still pretty good. The walks are fine, not 7.8%. The ERA is good, 2.75. A little bit lucky. Sierra is 3.84. But he's facing a Seattle team that is not terribly good against righties this season. 25.1% collectively on the year as far as their active roster. It's the 3rd highest in baseball. Their lineup specifically they're rolling out today, that matters more. They're striking out at 25.8%. Teoscar at 31.7, Kelnick at 34.8. And you got to love seeing Mike Ford in there, although it is a revenge game, right? Didn't he have a cup of coffee with the Yankees? Ford, a lot of strikeouts at 37.5%. And otherwise, like their WRC plus 15th, their ISO 19th, the WOBA 24th. So they're not things that's great. They're very, very middle of the road. And middle of the road is probably a nice way of describing Seattle, like kind of, back third almost as far as offense. Sure, there's some good pieces, but there's some quote unquote some easy outs in there as well. And the thing is that you're going to start rolling through, and you're going to mention other guys, and nobody's perfect, right? There's no perfect spot. And today, I'm really curious where ownership's going to land. Cole on Fanduel is the cheapest amongst the 4, amongst Kershaw, Valdez. Who am I missing? I'm missing somebody else. Eovaldi. I think Eovaldi's most expensive, and he's a longevity guy, right? Eovaldi can go 7 or 8 if he's efficient. I feel pretty good as far as that quality start, and I'm curious who you're going to pivot to. If you have a favorite amongst those 4, or, you certainly can step down and can just save some salary and talk about, well, George Kirby, like better real-life pitcher than actual, DFS pitcher. He doesn't walk anybody, so he's a guy that theoretically, if he's getting, BABIP on his side, he can go 7 or 8 innings as well. Stroman just feels a little bit overpriced for me. Another good BABIP guy. Not a ton of Ks, but he can go 7 or 8 if the pitch count is down. But I'm curious who you're going to say next, because there's Justin Verlander, who's super, super cheap, especially on DK. A2 on FanDuel. Revenge game for Verlander. He's in the 7s on DK. Ben Lively's another cheapie against a Colorado team that's completely horrendous. But, who's your favorite, if not Cole? I'm building the suspense.
So for me, I think I kind of mentioned it. It's going to be Eovaldi or Kershaw today for me. In terms of the top, one of those two, that's who it's going to be. On the low end, are we clear to go with the low end, Dean? I'm just making sure.
We'll just jump around, man. We're just having a conversation organically, wherever it goes, wherever it takes us. Feel free. We'll talk about them all eventually. All that matter.
Yeah, I mean, on the low end, like I am going to do some experimentation with Cutter Crawford today at 5,400 against Minnesota, who continues to strike out a fair amount. But that's more so in DraftKings where I'm using him to just kind of access some big bats. Especially if I want to go up and get an Eovaldi or get a Kershaw, being able to play him at 5K really unlocks my lineup. I mean, I can play anybody, and I can kind of mix and match, get some good stacks in, so forth and so on. I think someone in the middle of the pack that's interesting to me, that I feel like has enough upside and also lower downside is Marcus Stroman, and I'm saying that because I feel like Mackenzie Gore has. Believe it or not, I think Mackenzie Gore probably has the most close to enough upside in this spot, but I think he has more downside. With the walks, he could get shelled. But Mackenzie Gore in the season, I mean, his K rate's around 27, 28%. Like, he's been fine. But, he gets himself into too much trouble. I think a lot of people are probably going to consider Dylan Cease today. And so that's really why Mackenzie Gore is kind of going to pop for me a little bit. Cease looks like he's turning a corner. Gets a much tougher matchup today with the Texas Rangers. But Stroman to me has this interesting combination of not enough upside, but not a lot of downside. If that makes any sense, Steve. So he's going to go out there. He's going to get his ground balls. He'll get you 4 to 5 strikeouts, and if he's rolling, he can go 7 or 8 innings. If he has some quick innings, and thus therein lies some of his upside. He can get 6 strikeouts, but that's not his game. His game is let's get through the innings. Let's eat through some innings. And so I think Stroman today at 8,900 is also okay.
I'm trying to find. I saw he retweeted that somebody wrote a tweet about him a few days ago. I think it was after he had another one of those quality starts. I feel like he's had the most quality starts in the league, but like you said, it's kind of rare he's going to break the slate. It's pretty rare he's going to strike out 9 or 10, but he also is. It's rare that he gets his face, gets fully punched in and he blows their team up. He should be fine.
So here's the thing, and I know Eric. Eric tends to be very active in the chat all the time, and I've welcome Eric. We appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining the show. He's saying there's no K upside for Stroman. That's pretty much what I'm mentioning. Like, I'm literally saying this. He doesn't have as much K upside, but his downside is a lot less than Gore and Cease. I can tell you that right now. The likelihood of Gore or Dylan Cease having 5 fantasy points, trust me, it's higher than Marcus Stroman. I can assure you of this, just because of the type of pitchers that they are. So that's really the point I'm driving home. And we've also seen, for instance, and this is what we talked about, where his upside lies. He faced the Tampa Bay Rays. He put up 43 fantasy points. He only had 8 strikeouts, but the reason he was able to do that, he went 9 innings, and so that's what I'm saying. Where his upside lies, if he gets through 2 quick innings, Dean, I'm talking about one of those 1-pitch swing outs. And he's at 3 innings at 30 pitches. He's now got a shot. I'm not saying he's got a shot to go the distance if he's through 3 and 30 pitches, and that's possible with his pitching repertoire. So that's why I like Stroman. I'm not saying he's the top of the list. I'm saying he's someone you can consider. Doug Montgomery brought up a beautiful point here, saying that Stroman also faced Pitt 5 days ago. Absolutely. If he was a high strikeout guy, I'd be a little bit more worried. Stroman is going to rely on Babbitt no matter what matchup he's in. So he's not out there trying to burn through guys with a fastball. He's trying to get ground ball outs, and he'll take a strikeout if he can get it. So I'm not as concerned about that with him as I would be, say, a Dylan Cease, who needs more strikeouts to get through innings. All right, Dean, I'm done. I'm hopping off the soapbox.
You gave me enough time. I found the tweet. Stroman retweeted it 4 days ago. I'll just start. So most starts so far this year with 6+ innings and no more than 2 runs allowed. So it's like a better than a quality start, but it's a quality start, right? Framber Valdez, we'll talk about him in a second. It's got 9. McClanahan has 9. Kershaw, we'll talk about him too. He's got 9. Gausman has 9. The Hound, Chris Bassett has 10. Garrett Cole has 10. And all by himself is Marcus Stroman with 13. He's got 13 starts this year, 3 ahead of the field, with 6 or more innings, 2 runs or less earned. But obviously,
and that's his game. But that's his game. Like that.
Yeah,
that's who he is.
He's also expensive. Is the tricky part, right? Now he's in the threshold. He's not cheap.
I don't consider that expensive.
I guess he's more expensive than he has been. I would say that. How about that? Is that not fair to say?
He was around that price the last start. He was 87. So he's been in the 8s pretty much all season. 87, 87, 85, 83, 80, 85, 88. He was up to 91 against Washington, 9K. I mean, he's pretty much been in the 8K range. So they still haven't priced him to like 9,500. So, like, I'm really okay.
I was looking at Fanduel when I said that for what it's worth. He's 10-3 on Yeah, I should have clarified.
Yeah.
He's 10-3 on Fanduel.
Sorry.
Big boys. No. That's on me. Yeah. That's on me. We got a couple of new lineups, by the way. Brewers came out not too long ago. It's Yelich, Contreras, Tellez, Adames. They dropped Winker from the 2 to the 5 spot. Optimals want me to play Winker. Get out of town. That dude's terrible. There's your mush play of the day. Anderson, Urias, Perkins, and Weimer. I don't know why Weimer hits in the 9 hole. That dude's got crazy power. The Rangers, let's see. Their lineup dropped as well. Semien, Seager, Young, Garcia, Lowe, Heim, Duran, Jankowski, and Tavares. And we have the Twins. Julien leading off is batting second is Correa. Kirilov in the 3 spot. Then Buxton, Gallo. Oh, they're loading up the power up top. Lewis, Kepler, Jeffers, and Castro. That I was taking a look at the weather edge. I want to make sure this is still the same deal. As far as actual precipitation issues, nothing that I can see. I'm going to go ahead and check Ross weather again. I dropped it in chat. Yellow, green in Cincinnati.
Hey,
yes.
Our boy Kirkwood is in the chat saying, how does he not play his boy Cutter? He must have missed the beginning of the show. I like Cutter today against Minnesota. 50 in the 5K range, Dean, on DK. I mean, yeah, hey, Kirkdiese, you got to get in on time, man. I've already talked about Cutter. But all in all, Kirkdiese knows I love him, man. Good guy.
He's going to be back. He'll be on for crunch time. He's going to be relieving us shortly. So you can tell him what a great guy he is.
Listen, we got to get Eric on to do some analysis. Eric doesn't agree with anything we say. We can say
analysis is not the right word. Is that the right word?
Eric doesn't agree with anything we say. We say, hey, we like Kershaw today. Kershaw's going to stink. We say, oh, we don't like Gomber. Oh, Gomber's going to throw a complete game shutout. We don't like Bailey Ober. Bailey Ober is gonna have 11 strikeouts tonight. We like Colin Ray. We don't like Colin Ray. Oh, Colin Ray is gonna destroy the Arizona Diamondbacks. I don't know why you guys are playing Colin Ray. Why are you not playing Oakland against Aaron Savard? I'm sure there's gonna be an Oakland take if we haven't had one already.
Yeah.
He loves Oakland. This is what I say, Dean. I said, oh, Marcus Stroman. Not a lot of upside, not the most upside, not the most downside. Not going to be a whole bunch of strikeouts, but he's not going to get blown up. Marcus Stroman doesn't get strikeouts. Well, that's what I said, Eric. That's literally what I said. All right, back to the show. Eric, there we go. We had some slight DFS comedy at Eric's expense, which is really not his expense at all. All right, let's go.
He said that we agreed on something today. He's talking to you. I'm not sure specifically what it was. Oh, you guys agree on Stroman. There you go. So this is weird.
I love Eric, by the way.
The weather edge, my understanding how it works is it changes like every hour. There's an update. And I hit the refresh on it, and there's no matching historical data for the current weather in Minnesota. What is going on in Minnesota? Earlier today, I know there was a fire emoji. So fire emoji gets me excited as far as the offense. Bailey Ober gives up a lot of fly balls, and I think that, and I know he's been really lucky this year as far as homer to fly balls. One of my kind of sort of sneaky teams. I don't know what sneaky players, but we'll discuss later on, I think, as far as stacks. But, Jose Ramirez is going to be one of our popular players in this slate. Cleveland's not going to be sneaking up on anybody. And I think Devers is a really, really interesting pivot away from, and you're going to get him at – yes.
No, you go ahead and finish your statement. I think Herbert Good has a really good question. I would love to address this, but please, you go ahead and finish your thoughts. I do want to address this question from Herbert Good. I think this is a good one.
What is the question from Herbert Good? Now I'm curious what popped up because I missed it.
I'm sorry, not Herbert Good. John B. Excuse me, John B.
Thoughts on Jordan Montgomery? I mean, it's the same old deal, right? When you're facing Washington, there's not a lot of strikeout candidates. Montgomery's not a strikeout pitcher. He's getting a downgrade as far as a pitching environment. It's more of a hitting environment there in Washington as opposed to his own ballpark in Seattle.
And he has the ability to get crushed, right? Like, that's the other thing with Jordan Montgomery. He's not a guy he's not anything special to me. So to me, the bat probably likes Jordan Montgomery today. I can almost assure you the bat likes Jordan Montgomery because of this price against the Nationals, who stink per se. I don't like Jordan Montgomery today. I don't think he has a good game against this Washington team because of the low strikeouts. And once again, I don't like Washington because of so many bad innings I've seen out of this team. But I don't think Jordan Montgomery is the answer today. I honestly, I'd play Johan Oviedo before I played Jordan Montgomery today, for what it's worth. But that's just me.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm playing either one of those, but I understand the point you're making as far as Oviedo versus Montgomery.
Yeah, I'm not playing Oviedo either. I'm saying if I had to, I would. That's what I'm getting at. Firing
up the plate IQ as far as Montgomery specifically against this Washington team, and yeah, there's not a ton of power in there. There's some power, in a small sample. We've seen Riley Adams show some power. Lane Thomas as well, leading off. Stone Garrett on occasion, but he'll also strike out a ton. But it's a super contact heavy lineup, especially the front four. Where are the K's going to come from? I guess you get them from Stone Garrett at 30%. In the bottom of the lineup, you have CJ Abrams, big time prospect there. But collectively, they're striking out at less than 20% on the season. Montgomery is striking out 21.6% of his opponents, which isn't terrible, but that's not by any means in the vicinity of elite. So I think that's a pass. You mentioned Lively, or maybe somebody in chat mentioned Ben Lively.
Yeah, I didn't mention it. I was probably just, if I did, it was in passing, just having fun and having fun with him about disagree with everybody that we like or don't like. But that was just for fun if I did mention it.
Lively is just first of all, he's been okay, right? He's got a 23.5% K rate on the season. That's pretty good. And he's facing a terrible Colorado team. Yes, the ballpark's not great, but this Colorado team, especially outside of Coors, there is some power, McMahon and Jones from the left side, but otherwise it's not all that great. There's a revenge game for Mike Moustakas. Good for him. I think he's still wearing a Cincinnati Reds hat, if I'm not mistaken, in the avatar in his picture. As far as our lineup picture, but we're looking at almost 30% strikeouts here collectively, 29.2% if you want to get all technical. I know he was in the KBO, and maybe there's a reason.
Oh yeah, I know. Listen, I'm attacking KBO stuff every day. It's on Underdog and Prize Picks now, so I'm always on. Oh yeah, I'm hitting KBO every Tuesday through Sunday because they have Monday off. Every Tuesday through Sunday, I've got KBO action in. Yeah. Yeah. So the
KBO, every team has the same schedule, 6 days a week, and they just don't play Mondays?
Correct.
I don't remember that. I totally forgot that was a thing. It's interesting. There's only 8 or 10 teams or 12 teams?
Yep. So that's roughly what it is. I know them all. If I started rattling them off, I could count. That's how heavy I am in the KBO. KBO is great. I love it.
Who's playing in the KBO right now that I know their name? I was that guy's still playing?
You probably know Raul Alcantara. He's a pitcher.
Oh, okay, yeah. I heard of
him. Dan Straley.
Yes. Is Thames still there? Remember Eric Thames? Was he in the Japanese league or the KBO?
No, not there. He's not there.
He was destroying one of those leagues not too long ago.
Yeah, let me think about some hitters. Socrates Brito, he's there.
Oh yeah, Arizona Diamondback, right?
Yeah, he's there.
The philosopher.
Let's see who else. But I mean, you get the picture. There's guys there that you know.
Yeah.
I
did catch a few of those games at 4 o'clock.
Not Andre Alford. What's his name? Jeez.
Eric Fetty apparently is playing. According to
Fetty's in the KBO now. This is first year. He's with the NC Dinos, and Fetty has around a 30% K rate. If you must know. Yes, Steve Jones. Addison Russell's there, plays for the Kaiwoom Heroes. Addison Russell is there, yeah.
Fernando Rodney in chat
Kim,
saying
he's there.
Thames has retired, which I didn't know that, so I must have missed that. But
yeah, don't get me started, man. I love KBO. Plenty of guys that I know. So I'm in the KBO streets every week without fail. That's something people probably didn't know. KBO is actually one of my favorite prop sports. It's actually one of my favorites.
Noah Davis is another guy, according to Kirkwood. Noah Davis, was he like a pitcher? Noah Davis? The name sounds vaguely familiar, but yeah. They only allow so many foreigners on each team, like 3 or 4 foreigners.
Adam Pletko from Cleveland, he's there.
Yes, the pitcher, I remember him.
Eric Jokic, you remember him?
Jokic, the Joker?
No, Eric. This? Well, Eric Jokic. It's Jokish. You remember him? Well, he pitches for Kaiwoom. Let's see who else is there. Who else is there? As a matter of fact, Drew Ruchinski, who's in Oakland right now. He came from KBO. He was with the NC Dinos as well, so he's here this year. I'm going to tell you right now, the next KBO guy that may be coming to the States is probably An Woo Jin. Like I think he's the real deal. If there's any pitchers coming, him and maybe Moku. This guy Moku, he pitches for NC. Chang Moku. He's another guy that could probably come up. But An Woo Jin is the guy. If anybody's coming from KBO to the majors, in my opinion, is An Woo Jin. All right, let's get off that. Let's get back to MLB. Dean, take us away.
Garrett Cole is getting the most ownership on DraftKings as of 5:30, so we have a new batch of ownership. He's 10.9K, a little bit cheaper is Kershaw at 10.5. He's getting 23%. George Kirby, you get a significant discount for Kirby taking on the Yankees. Kirby's a really, really good pitcher. Doesn't walk anybody. The K rate's not spectacular, but he's, super solid, assuming the BABIP's in check. We're looking at 17% ownership for him. A little bit squirrely as far as Aaron Savali. That's more of a bet against Oakland than a bet on Savali. He's getting 15%.
I don't like Savali today. So here's the thing. So Savali came out with the prop on the board today at 5.5. I said, look, I know it's Oakland, but Aaron Savali is not a high upside or a high K pitcher. So I don't. I'm out on Savali. I'm not playing Savali today.
I don't think I'm making enough lineups to get there, and I do prefer some other cheap stuff in a similar price point that we'll talk about a little bit more in depth. Framber Valdez and all his quality starts and all his ground balls, we're looking at 15% ownership at 10.2K on DK. The matchup against the Mets, same old story there. The Mets are pretty contact heavy. Let's pull up their lineup specifically today. I glanced at it earlier. I don't think it's anything goofy. I think it's pretty standard as far as the Mets. Let's just get this specifically and confirm it. Like super contact heavy, Pham and Alvarez. So that's only 2 guys that are in the pink as far as striking out on the plate IQ. Collectively 18.6%. That's just not a very appealing number. Even the power guys like Alonso at less than 20, Lindor about 20% as well. Nemo, Marte, Lindor, Alonso, Pham, Alvarez, McNeil. McNeil's annoying, right? Because he's a big contact guy. Not really going to take it out of the yard, but he'll give you that professional at bat. Kana and then Escobar on the season. Valdez, we're talking about 26.2% as far as K is pretty good number. A little better against lefties. How many lefties we facing today? Left on left versus the Mo, left on left versus McNeil, and that's that. Two lefties and 7 righties. By the way, Paul in chat wants to know where can he get your premium plays. I guess you tell him about the prop shop here, right?
Yeah, you can get it on the prop shop, but honestly, Paul, what I would do, man, if you got time, I mean, you can just literally pull up, take your pick 'em, every weekday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be right there talking about a couple plays. I do post, a couple cards in the prop shop. You do get some extra content there. Prop shop is a good place. We got plenty of guys in there. But yeah, absolutely. If you really want to catch kind of where I am early in the day, then take your pick 'em. 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm on about 15-20 minutes talking about a couple plays that I like, and I go from there. And then on Mondays and Fridays, I post Prize Picks videos, which will give you an additional 2 plays that I like, and those are all free, Paul. And the prop shop is free, so everything that I do for this great company is free, and I love it that way. That way you get a chance to try to get some content, hopefully good quality content that you can take with you and make a few dollars. Dean, are we able to just kind of get on stacks? I kind of got a stacks itch. I know we're early in the show. I really want to talk some stacks because I got some teams
if you want to.
like. Let's do it. So watch the quick recap in terms of what I like for pitching, Dean, because I know people will want that. I'm with you on Kirby, especially at 8,700 on DraftKings. I do like Marcus Stroman today at 8,900 on DraftKings, but it's less about the upside and more about kind of him being kind of in the middle of the pack. I will lean Eovaldi if I had to have a top spin, Eovaldi or Kershaw. Those would be my top spins. And then if I'm going all the way to the bottom, then it would probably be Cutter, Crawford for me if I'm going all the way, and I mean all the way to the bottom. Dean, what say you?
Let me ask you this, though. Verlander at 7.3K. This is like reverse sticker shock, right? Justin Verlander 7.3K, which seems kind of egregious. We saw Scherzer kind of turn back the clock yesterday against Houston. Verlander returning back to Houston. Revenge game. Obviously, he's 40 or whatever he is these days. He hasn't been spectacular this year, but it's all kind of baked into the price. 7.3. And from what we have, which is a little bit surprising in my estimation, we have Ben Lively at 7.1, getting 12% ownership. We have Savali at 7.9, getting 15% ownership. And we have Verlander at 7.3. Look, it's a thankless job doing the ownership projection, and obviously the closer we get to lock, the more refined it gets. I feel like that's going to be a little bit changed. I think Verlander is going to be higher than 7 or 8% on DK. I can see him being similar to Savali, if not higher. He's cheaper, and there's some name recognition.
Yeah, but, when I said it made no sense, that wasn't an insult to our projections team. That was me saying if the ownership sentiment is leaning towards Savali over Verlander, that didn't make any sense to me. So that was not an indictment on the ownership team. Or the projections team. So I just wanted to clear that up because I didn't want the ownership team to not roll with me there. But Verlander, I think the price is fine. But he hasn't, like you said, he hasn't been spectacular this year. Definitely going to give up some hits. Definitely think he's going to give up some runs. And right now he doesn't have the strikeout stuff that Scherzer has. Scherzer's kind of come back around. So earlier in the season, there's so much information in my head, which is interesting. We saw that Scherzer was sitting more around 24 to 25% strikeouts, I think it was, D. And now as the season has kind of gone along, if you start looking at the past month, Scherzer's now ticked back up to around 30 to 32%. So what we're seeing here is Scherzer's now kind of coming back to the Scherzer we know and love, and Justin Verlander is still in purgatory somewhere and not getting there. And so I don't really want to get in with Verlander because now, here's what I will say. If Verlander was going 6 innings, Dean, 4 or 5 strikeouts and not giving up runs, I'd probably feel a lot better. But I don't trust that he's going to get through 6 and limit the damage. I think if he makes it 6 and only has 3 or 4 strikeouts, he's probably giving up 4 to 5 runs, in my humble opinion. That's an opinion. Obviously, we have projections that will say, if you check out the batting, you check out the RG projections, you can see that maybe they're projecting them probably for 2 to 3 runs anyway. I'm just saying if he doesn't get the strikeouts, I think he's going to be giving up a fair amount of runs.
All right. Somebody was asking in the chat about Davis, about his projected pitch count for Colorado. Depending on where you're looking, the RG plate IQ projections, I think 88 pitches, and the bat, Derek Carty's the bat, I think it's 82. So we're projecting that he's mostly stretched out if you want to consider playing Davis against Cincinnati. I don't think I'm getting there, but that does answer your question. Lastly, I'll just say our consensus rankings as far as pitchers. And, yeah, chime in if you guys are in chat. It's an interactive show. We want it to be as interactive as possible. If we miss somebody, if you want us to elaborate on somebody else, by all means, we're happy to do so. Ask away. Ask about some bats. If you're debating between a 2v2, ask that question as well. We want to knock out as many questions as possible there in the chat before we hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. They're coming on in about 35 minutes or so. Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. You have Kirkwood, Kirkdiese, SDL cards as well. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all those things. We'd much appreciate it. I don't know if we have enough likes to satisfy you, Will, but we do if you can give the people maybe one of your favorite prop plays on the day. I don't know if the lines have gone stale since you've locked them in, but Do you have a favorite prop that's out there lurking in like the underdog streets or wherever you may have got it from?
Yeah, let me check. I want to see if it's still there before I give it out, because I don't want there to be an issue. It should be. I don't think this is one that they would have moved to. Yeah, good. So I got Marcus Stroman. Surprise, surprise. Marcus Stroman, he was at 91.5 pitches between underdog and prize picks. I actually like more than that particular projection of 91.5. I think we're getting down to the middle of the season now. I think it's a spot where as long as he's pitching well and he's eating through innings, I think they're going to continue to extend him. I think his last start against his team, he was up about 98 pitches. I think it was 96, excuse me. So at 91 pitches, basically what we're saying is, does he get through 5 innings in the mid-80s, or does he get through 6 innings in the mid-80s? Like that. So that's basically what you're looking at. Whatever his threshold is, or wherever he's close to for the next inning, you probably need him at the mid-80s or under. So around 85, 84, 85 pitches, you can almost feel really comfortable in inning 5 that he's coming back out for inning 6. If he ends inning 6 in the 84 to 85 pitch count range, you feel very comfortable that he's coming out for inning 7. And so that's why I like the 91. Once again, this is a guy that gets a ton of ground balls, throws a lot of sinker, throws a lot of cutter. The combination of those two gets him a lot of ground balls, gets him some quick outs. So he typically is going to get there. So at 91.5 pitches, I like more than that particular projection.
Just want to mention our consensus rankings on DK as far as pitchers. Myself, Napster Man, Kirkwood will be on in a bit. Tasteful Tides, Tim, Squirrel Patrol as well. We do have Cole number 1, Kershaw number 2, then Kirby. This is DK. Cole, Kershaw, Kirby, Framber Valdez, Dylan Cease, Verlander. Price is considered. Eovaldi. So Eovaldi is like the most expensive of the big ones. He's kind of buried a little bit, and I think ownership speaks to that as well. Let's see where we have Eovaldi. I think he was somewhere in the teens. He's not going to be heavily owned today. 8%. Wow, that's super, super low. After Eovaldi, a little bit of Aaron Savali love, or maybe it's just dislike of the A's. Then Ben Lively, then Cutter Crawford. Speaking of Cutter Crawford, yeah, Kirkwood, the only person to rank him. He is 5.4 on DK, which is super cheap. Stroman, one person has Stroman. There's a Mackenzie Gore shout out, and then Johan Oviedo. Okay, let's talk about our stacks. You said you're excited to talk about stacks today. I think it's pretty clear who like the top 2 or 3 are. I'm curious what your thoughts are. Consensus-wise, here is our rankings. We have Cleveland 1, then Cincinnati, then Arizona. Cleveland and Cincinnati are like 1 and 1A. It's really, really close. Cleveland and Cincinnati, Arizona, St. Louis, the Dodgers, Texas, a little bit of love for Colorado, a little bit of love for Boston, a little bit of love for San Diego. I assume one of those teams was the team you wanted to talk about. Anything too high, anything too low, anything you want to kick off the board completely, something you want to add to the board. Cleveland, Cincinnati, Arizona, St. Louis, Dodgers, Texas, Colorado.
Yeah, Arizona's number 1 on my list.
Okay, talk to me about Arizona.
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, they're in Milwaukee, good hitters park, facing Colin Ray, a guy that, look, he's not anything spectacular, not somebody I'm worried about. And this Arizona lineup has sneakily been very good. So, like, if you haven't been on top of, like, baseball, you don't even realize this is a low strikeout team that can score some runs, right? So, overall, Dean, guess what they've done? I don't know if you know this, but Geraldo Perdomo has been my favorite 9-hole hitter to roster all season long. Guess what they've now done, Dean? They have moved him up to hit leadoff. Oh, my goodness. Changes everything for me. So I really, really, really like the Arizona Diamondbacks. 20% K rate for Perdomo, 200 ISO. 16% K rate for Ketel Marte, 192 ISO. 22% K rate for Corbin Carroll, 350 ISO. 17% K rate for Christian Walker, 226 ISO. 21% K rate for Lourdes Gurriel, 277 ISO. Now, listen, this is awful, okay? 35% K rate for Evan Longoria, but a 292 ISO. 15% for Alec Thomas, 195 ISO. Carson Kelly, 30% K rate and no power basically in 10 plate appearances. And then we got McCarthy down here to 19.8% K rate and a .92 or .092 ISO. So not a lot of power there. But literally the top 7 bats, and this isn't projected, this is their actual lineup, basically hitting over 190 or more in the ISO department. We've got Colin Ray here with a 20% K rate, a 9% walk rate. He's at an 18% K rate over the past 30 days. You look at all the pitches he's throwing sinker, fastball, cutter, curveball. Guess what? This team is hitting everything. So I really like the Arizona Diamondbacks today. Definitely one of my top stacks on the day because they're not expensive and they've got the power to get it done. So this is a team, for me, I was hoping they weren't going to be as at the top of the list, and they're not. And so for me, this is my top stack on the day. I'm not all in per se, but I'm well over the field in terms of where I am for Arizona.
Yeah, you mentioned Thomas, by the way. Thomas, I like him as a cheapie. 2-2 today on DK. I think he's 2K straight on Fanduel. He was just called up. They sent down Rojas was sent down for Arizona. So if you need a salary saver, I think Alek Thomas is probably one of the slates.
Thomas Kane said Milwaukee pitching is a lot. Thomas, let's put a little RG premium wager on that right now. This is what we'll do, Thomas. If Arizona doesn't score at least 4 runs on Colin Ray, at least 4. Listen, so here's the caveat: at least 4 runs in the first 4 innings. Let's give Thomas Kane a free week of RG premium. Is that something we can do, producer Steve? Tell Thomas Kane to send us a message. Is that something I can do? Can I authorize this? I'm not part of the higher up committee, but I'm just wondering, can I authorize this, producer Steve?
I'm taking a note of it right now.
Yeah,
I think we can get him a week of premium.
The only problem is we're encouraging now bad takes to just be thrown out in chat.
This is a one-time thing for Chief.
No, it's a one-time thing. Thomas Kane says Milwaukee pitching is a lot, and that's why I'm not even going to full 6. Arizona scores. Let's do this. Arizona scores 4 or more runs in the first 4 innings. He gets a week of RG premium for free because I'm right, not because he's wrong. Technically, it should be the other way around, right? Like the pitching does well and he gets the free week. No, I'm so confident in my take today. I'm putting myself on the line. Arizona, more than 4 runs within 4 innings, and Thomas gets a free week of RG premium.
So if he had 3 solo homers in 4 innings, he wins. He was right about Colin Ray.
Correct, because they didn't score the 4 or more. That the caveat is 4 or more. That's what we're saying here.
I think it's too. I think you're at your caveats. This is just me. Like by all means, feel free to give away a week free. But I'm just saying, like, there's no victory lapping. Oh, this guy went 4 innings, gave up 3 solo homers, and walked 7 dudes or whatever, and like he wasn't good.
But listen, so Jimmy, I'm interacting with the chat today. Jimmy J says, "Let's go, Thomas." You actually need to be saying, "Let's go, Chief." I need to be right for Thomas to get the free week.
No, they're saying let's go, Alek Thomas. I believe was they're saying.
Oh, okay. Oh,
maybe
understood.
I'm not sure. I just try to spin it.
All right. So yeah, there we go. But Arizona definitely at the top of my list.
Random question in chat. Brian's asking any love for.
Wait. This is good. Thomas says if he loses, he will donate $20 to one of my favorite charities after next payday. Thomas, my favorite charity is the March of Dimes. March of Dimes. $20 to March of Dimes. I like it. I'm in.
I encourage this.
I'm in.
Anybody else want to make it outlandish? We can keep doing this for charity. I don't know how many we can knock out. But
I like it. Thomas, you might have just gave us one of our best segments on television. Man, this is great. Yeah. March of Dimes, my friend. Let's do it.
Respect. All right. So somebody was asking about Bo Naylor, and I got excited about that because he's my favorite cheap catcher on the slate today. He's 2K on FanDuel. You don't necessarily need catchers. And I believe he's buried. I want to say he's in the 9 spot. He is the catcher of the future for Cleveland. Plenty of power. We saw, I'm forgetting his name. The guy called up yesterday for Pittsburgh. Henry Davis, he's up in the 5-hole today against Stroman. Don't necessarily love that matchup, but he's still pretty cheap, and I don't mind as a punt catcher, Henry Davis versus Stroman. But Naylor is in the 9-hole and at home, which is like a terrible combination. But he comes with a lot of power, and he's super, super cheap. 2K on Fanduel, and I think, is he 2K on both sites? 2.5 on DK. Facing the combination of Waldachuk, and we're assuming Medina's going to relieve him. Will, I like to list all my pitchers. I like to see them all and kind of sort through them and see how they rank amongst everybody else on the slate. Assuming Medina is the guy coming after Waldachuk, we have 23 pitchers listed. As far as homers per 9 on the season, dude that gives the most homers per 9 in the season, Luis Medina, 2.29. That's too many. Number 2 is Ken Waldachuk, 2.11. That's too many. The Oakland Athletic pitchers are 1 and 2 as far as giving up homers. And, of course, every ballpark shift outside of Oakland is a negative ballpark shift. Not that Cleveland's this great homer haven, but it is an upgrade. Love Naylor as again, general rules. I really, really hate playing 9-hole hitters at home. There's like many scenarios where they only get 3 at-bats. But it's catcher. The opportunity cost a little bit lower. And, of course, if I have all the money in the world, I want Will Smith, but I don't, so I won't. Unless I'm like, making a Dodger stack or something like that. All right. Let's see. What else is going on here in chat? I'm seeing I missed people are asking. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Listen, I've got more stacks to talk about. Like, don't worry. I'm loaded today. I am excited about the hitting. I'm very excited about the hitting.
How do you feel about Cincinnati? They've almost a 6 total. Their total is higher than.
Yeah,
talking about the Reds.
I think Cincinnati's fine. I feel like they're going to end up being probably more chalky than they should be for a big slate. You know what I mean? Like, we got 11 games. To me, that's a fairly big slate. So I'm not going to try to convince you off of Cincinnati. Like, I think Cincinnati's fine. What I want to do, Dean, and you can go back to Cincinnati and pound that drum. I'm gonna march to the beat of a different drum or a different drummer, and that's a quote by Henry David Thoreau. For those of you that are into literature. I'm also going to go on the other side of this game, Dean. I'm not saying we got a game stack here, but what I am saying is, as much as I like the Arizona Diamondbacks, I like the Milwaukee Brewers against Mr. Nelson. Mr. Nelson is also a guy. We're going to take this thing back about 3 or 4 years, Dean. Let's call him a gas can. My name is now Pepsi 7. Get the 7s in the chat. I think Mr. Nelson is a gas can. I'm not saying Milwaukee is some elite offense, but I do think that they're beginning to turn a corner here. When we look at Nelson, 14% K rate on the season, and in the past 30 days, it's still 14%, 10% to lefties, 17% to righties. We've got Christian Yelich, who's looking better. I know Jesse Winker is a guy that you don't want to play. We've got Adames. We've got Rowdy Tellez, who's definitely a home run candidate today. And then we've got a collection, a little cluster of low strikeout bets. Contreras, Miller, they picked up Tapia from Boston. I think Nelson has a tough time today. So for what it's worth, if you want to do a game stack of this game, I am in on a Milwaukee-Arizona game stack. I think this game could actually be one of the highest scoring games on the slate, despite not having all the name value for the bats. I love this game as a whole. I think the environment's good. It's good. It's a good hitting environment for both sides, and both sides are facing a pitcher that is below average at best. I think this is one of the top spots of the night for offense on both sides. I am loading up on the Arizona-Milwaukee game as a whole.
Nelson, lowest K rate on the slate, 14.7%. The fly balls are too high as well, almost at 40%. He's been pretty lucky as far as a homer and a fly ball. I'm assuming the roof's closed there in Milwaukee. I've not seen that, but I'm just going to assume that's what's going on there. Milwaukee tonight. You mentioned the environment. It's a good ballpark, just as a general thought. Sometimes, every once in a while, when it's the temperature's just right, you'll get the roof open, but I don't think it's going to be open this evening. The Reds feel expensive, which is life comes at you quickly. What's that? That phrase that people say. For some reason, that's lost on me. But they're just pricey. Remember, they used to be really, really cheap. Like Taylor Cruz, I'm old enough to remember when he was 2K. Now he's like in the 5s. Not saying you can't play him. Everybody on Cincinnati. Well, Votto is still really, really cheap on FanDuel. He's no longer 2K. He was 2K yesterday. He's 2.6. You can still absolutely play him. He looked spectacular yesterday. He did homer. He hit the ball hard, I think at least 3 times. Got a big ovation from the crowd as well. So, they love him there in Cincinnati. Future Hall of Famer? Maybe? Not sure. Not dug through those numbers. Possibly. We shall see. Do you have a take on that? Do you care about such things? Is he a future Hall of Famer or just misses it? Maybe he just misses it.
I mean, so I think Joey Votto has had a respectable career. I think he's really been probably the one steady force in Cincinnati. Gosh, forever. I'm shocked Joey Votto never went to the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Cardinals, or I'm saying, after the Cincinnati career. I'm shocked. I think if he's not Hall of Fame, he's close. I don't think he's first ballot. Here's what I will say, Dean. If this young team gets to the big one, I'm not saying this year, I'm saying next 2 to 3 years, as an example, and he wins one, he's absolutely going in, I would say.
Lots of talk, by the way, in the chat about the Diamondbacks. They're not happy you giving away the Diamondbacks. And somebody else said, dude on the right is delusional. Diamondbacks are getting shut out. I assume they're on the right. I don't know. But, come on. We're betting on a shutout now? I don't think Arizona's getting shut out. We did get a Giants lineup, by the way. Wade leading off, then Peterson, Davis, Conforto, Yastrzemski, Estrada, Conforto, Bailey, and the rookie Matos. Who's left as far as lineups? We're waiting for the Dodgers. I assume we're going to see Austin Barnes. He tends to be the personal caddy for Clayton Kershaw, but I'd also imagine decent chance that Will Smith cracks that DH spot. And I think we've seen JD Martinez play a little at first base this year. So maybe we'll see both Will Smith and JD Martinez as well as Barnes catching, but no official lineup just yet. No Padres either. No Fathers against the Giants. That's it, right? Everything else we got in, we do. Okay. Any other stacks that are worth noting? Still 15 minutes till we hand it off to the crunch time. Let's see. We want Votto or Friedel in our stacks for the Reds. Who do you prefer amongst those two, Friedel or Votto, if you're stacking up Cincinnati?
I'll probably try to get them both, to be honest. I think it's what, but if I got to only take one, I think I take Friedel, and most of that is just because Friedel's been playing. I know Votto homered last night, but I think I'll take the longevity of Friedel's season as it stands currently.
Rukin called the hotline there in Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee is one of the few ballparks that has a hotline you can call if the roof is open or not. I know Texas, somebody will tweet it out. Can't remember the guy's name. John Blake, I think is the guy's name for Texas. That'll let you know if the roof's open or not. But okay, I'm trying to see what's going on in Milwaukee. It looks like 75 degrees is the current temperature, but we don't currently have that in Weather Edge. I don't know if we can get Roth to let us know what's going on in Milwaukee. That'd be nice to know, but it would be nice to know if it's a even better hitting weather there. It's supposed to be good in Minnesota, but last we checked on Weather Edge, the Minnesota weather was just broken, and we have no historical data as far as what's going on today. That ballpark's been around for 7 years in Minnesota? You figure there'd be something similar, but as of right now, no matching historical data. Again, this will maybe Roth can chime in about 15 minutes or so and give us his thoughts as far as what's going on there. I'm giving a refresh to the weather page, and let's see, yellow, green in Cincinnati. Everywhere else looks clean and fine. Green. Okay. I'll drop this in chat for the people as well.
Dean,
I saw. Yes.
No, go ahead. You go ahead. I do want to get another stack in here. Because this is something that I like to do, but I'm gonna let you finish your thought. I just want you to know I've got another stack that I would love to discuss with you.
All right, put that on layaway. I want to talk to you about it as well, but I do want to mention our sponsor in this portion of the show is Stat Hero. Stat Hero is a unique fantasy sports platform you already know and love, allows users to compete against the house instead of players like myself or Will or those in chat. The Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em that is still going on. Join now. It's a free-to-play contest. Win to start your streak. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. Build your streak. Win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and cash prizes. What kind of cash prize are we talking about? 20,000 smackers. $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20 contest on Stat Hero. Use the promo code GRINDERS. That's GRINDERS. GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today on Stat Hero. My laptop always thinks I'm saying Siri when I say searing, and it just starts I don't know if you have a Mac or not, but like everything I just said was like on the screen. It was just so weird as I was saying it. Technology is wild. Well, all right. Who is the stack? Can I guess who it is? Can I guess who your stack is? I kind of have I don't know how sneaky it may or may not be. It's an 11 gamer also because things are not going to be terribly heavily owned. But well, yeah, go ahead, fire it off. Who is your stack that you're holding back on? You're going to unleash now.
Yeah. So my next stack, Dean, I don't think this one is as good, but I like to take good teams in what appear to be not as good of a spot. And so that's the Texas Rangers against Dylan Cease today. We've seen Dylan Cease kind of rattle off a couple good games here. I'm not so that Dylan Cease is suddenly a guy that's going to come, the rest of the season and strike out 9-10 bats. So I am definitely hammering in on the Rangers, a good team in a perceived not as good spot. But they could absolutely get Dylan Cease some trouble. He walks one too many guys at the wrong time in the game, gives up a couple solo shots, and all of a sudden, you look, Texas has scored 7 runs out of nowhere. And if they happen to, pick up some runs early and knock Cease out of the game early, Dean, then we'll get a little bit of White Sox bullpen. I'm not saying they're the worst in the league, but they're not like some elite bullpen that I'm absolutely worried about. And so I will have some Texas stacks mixed in. I think this is a spot where, because of the expensive pieces of Semien, Seager, Garcia, we're going to see that push down the ownership of this team in general. So some of these other pieces like Lowe and Jung and Heim, we're just not going to play those guys. Robbie Grossman is still cheap. We can still get him in a stack. So for the Texas Rangers, this is a spot I want to go ahead and attack them and ensure that that if they pop off against Dylan Cease, I've got plenty of exposure to this team.
No Grossman, by the way, in that Texas lineup. Semien, Seager, Young, Garcia, Lowe, Heim, Duran, Jankowski is getting the start.
I still had the projected lineup up, so it didn't update on my page as of yet.
They are tricky because the ones you want, Semien, Seager, and Garcia, are all really expensive, and the rest of them, I mean, I like Young a good bit. He's fine. Third base, there's certainly an opportunity cost. J-Ram's going to be popular. I think Devers is an awesome pivot. De La Cruz is also third base eligible. You can play him at short. Additionally, I was wrong, by the way, about the Dodgers. There is no Will Smith's actually catching Clayton Kershaw, and I haven't been tracking this, but I feel like that doesn't really happen very often. Barnes tends to catch Kershaw, but tonight it's Will Smith. It's Betts, Freeman, Smith, JD Martinez is DHing, Vargas, DeLuca, pretty heavy pinch hit risk, just a heads up. If a righty comes in, DeLuca probably gets the hook for somebody like, Outman's in there, but somebody like Hayward. Hayward's a guy that's on the bench. After DeLuca, it's Outman, then Rojas, and Bush is your lineup for the Dodgers. Some questions here loading up in chat. Michael Miller wants to know, Christian Walker or Marte, last piece of an Arizona stack. You like Arizona? Which do you prefer?
Marte.
Yeah, I like both of those guys, but yeah, that's kind of tricky. Mr. Richard, I'm playing in the single bullet DK 222 offering. What team should I stack? I didn't know there was a single bullet 222 contest, but okay. The 222, do they have any more? Is that like a special going on in DK? They don't let me play those anymore. Well, it's unfortunate. I got cut off. But yeah, who would you stack in the single entry 222 on DK?
Oh man,
is that $2.22 or $222? Not sure. That might matter.
Listen, I like Arizona and Milwaukee today. Those are my top teams, and I don't think we're going to see a lot of stats on both sides of that game in one particular lineup. So that's my favorite place. Like any single entry, that's what you'll see from me. But that's me personally, right? So as my good friend JM to Win has said over the years, don't be afraid to think for yourself. If you see something that other people don't see, you need to stay with that and attack that, because there's nothing worse than looking at a play all day saying, oh, this guy's going to hit 3 home runs, and you leave him out of your lineup, and then you go and check the end of the night, and you're like, I knew this guy was going to hit 3 home runs. Why didn't I play him? Stick to your guns and use a little bit of our analysis, and you should come out ahead.
Daryl wants to know, Milwaukee has the second lowest batting average while having the 4th highest K rate. Why not Ryan Nelson? Well, Ryan Nelson has got the lowest K rate on the slate. That's the first answer as to why not. I think the other answer is, and you can complete this, but like I don't care too much about batting average to you. It matters to some degree, sure, but that's not something I really consider a ton.
I'm not really. I mean, unless we've got some crazy data on it, like I'm not really worried about it. So here's what, and I know Mr. George here is basically saying he doesn't like the Texas Rangers. Guess what? The reality is you don't have to play the Texas Rangers. That's the interesting thing about it. Like the reason why I'm giving you that is because that's a good team that people aren't going to play today. And I thought I expressed that pretty clearly. If you think that's a bad take, no problem. I got no problem with that. But here's what I would say to you. There's very limited at-bats with this Texas team with Dylan Cease. I've got Robbie Grossman at 12, Marcus Semien at 6, Jankowski at 0, Seager at 3, Garver at 0, Adolis Garcia at 8, Nate Lowe at 4, Jonah Heim at 2, Tavares at 6. Like, those are the plate appearances I have. So if you're going to try to tell me that I don't need to play the Texas Rangers because of that he has their number and they've got limited plate appearances, I'm going to say you need to go back and do a little bit more homework. If this was 60 plate appearances, I'd probably consider it a little bit more. But I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and there are very limited plate appearances. So I don't care. Actually, I'm going to play Texas. And I mean, and look, so if we're going to talk about that, like, let's talk about the whole story. Dylan Cease has now you've got me fired up. Not upset, fired up about the information. Dylan Cease has a 24% K rate on the season, 21% to lefties, 28% to righties. Last season, he was at 30%, 26% to lefties, 33% to righties. So we've got a 6% dip in a strikeout rate. And guess where he is over the last 30 days? He's even lower than that. Dylan Cease sitting at a 21% K rate, overall 16% to lefties, 28% to righties. Something is going on with Dylan Cease. So this isn't Dylan Cease from last year. It's not Dylan Cease from before. Dylan Cease literally just started picking up higher strikeout games the last 2 to 3 games. Prior to that, he's been getting destroyed. So if you're going to sell me on the fact that Dylan Cease is going to mow down the Texas Rangers, I'm going to disagree with you and say I'm literally going to side with Texas in this spot because Dylan Cease hasn't even proven to me over this season that he's going to be good yet.
You're fired up. I like it. I'm confused by the premise because Dylan Cease hasn't faced the Texas Rangers this year. How does he have their number? Like he calls. How does he have the? He hasn't faced the team. When did he have their?
Mr. George says
I don't understand the premise.
Mr. George says they're batting 116. Trust me, Dean, it's very limited plate appearances. So we're just going to thank Mr. George for his time, thank him for his contribution to the chat, and then we're going to move on. And guess what? If the Texas Rangers don't get there, it doesn't matter. I've expressed why I like the Texas Rangers. My top 2 teams are Arizona and Milwaukee. And the reason I like Texas is because today they're a low-owned team that's a good team that people aren't going to play because of this 116 batting average that he's talking about right now. It's a perceived good spot, but it's not as good as he thinks it is. And if the Texas Rangers light up Dylan Cease today, I invite Mr. George to come back on and have a discussion with me when I'm back on the show. In fact, let's figure out when I'm back because if the Texas Rangers crush today, I want to ensure that Mr. George knows when I'm going to be back on this show. And it looks like I'm going to be back on next Monday on the 26th. So I won't be coming on to necessarily talk about the Texas Rangers. I'll be coming on to help Mr. George find some more teams that he can utilize in his tournament bills to win some money.
Cease might actually be starting that day. I'm not sure how the schedule's working out exactly. We might see Cease again next Monday. And by the way, for the record, it's certainly possible Cease can strike out 8 Rangers. Like that wouldn't shock me. Like both can happen. Yeah, I understand your point. I understand the angle you're taking. But there's a range of possibilities, and both things can happen. And I understand why you're taking the side, but I don't understand saying he has their number when he hasn't even played them this season. Derek wants to know, cheap Dodger, you got Vargas or Bush? I would take Vargas over Bush personally. You have a preference?
Like it? Definitely Vargas.
I did want to mention, several people have talked about the Cardinals. And remember the St. Louis Cardinals used to be good at baseball? They're pretty horrendous this season. A lot of that's due to their pitching. untimely bullpen just getting annihilated at the wrong times. But historically, last year, actually, not too long ago, they were the best team in all baseball when facing left-handers, basically any category you can think of, WRC+, ISO, any offensive category, essentially the Cardinals were the best. And this team has theoretically improved, right? Contreras is now their catcher as opposed to Yadier Molina, improved offensively. Walker, the young rookie, 21 years old, uber prospect, he's starting to figure things out. He's also pretty cheap. Mackenzie Gore, on the other end, he's figuring stuff out as well. He's improving. Super prospect was traded for Juan Soto out of San Diego. Used to be a guy who really used to pick on. Now, again, he's figuring it out. He's getting there, but he still will give up some homers. He'll still walk too many guys. St. Louis is locked in for 9. They're locked in for 9 innings in an upgraded ballpark in Washington. And if Gore doesn't have it for whatever reason, he's backed up by the second or third worst bullpen in all of baseball behind Oakland and I can't remember the other one. I was looking at it earlier today. It's a bad Washington bullpen. It is all right-handed, I think, still, which is kind of tricky because you're going to go left or right, and I guess that opens up the possibility of some pinch hits, but I'm not terribly concerned about that. I guess Burleson's a guy that might sneak in there depending on their lefty power guy. The middle infielder is not playing for St. Louis today. Maybe he'll pop up at some point. But I like the Cardinals, long story short. I like them for tournaments. I'm not sure if I'm going to get there in my 3-entry max or my single-entry contest. I'm curious what STL Cards have to say. And STL Cards always pulls that emotional hedge. He'll bust it out. I love what he writes about the Cardinals. He's still angry about them trading him while he's Sandy Alcantara like 3 years ago. He never forgets. Best fans in all baseball in St. Louis. He'll let you know. He's coming on as well as Kirkwood and Kevin Roth. Roth, by the way, if you're in the bullpen and you happen to be listening, I would love to know if you can get me some weather in Milwaukee. Apparently the roof's going to be open in Milwaukee. And if you can give me something as far as Minnesota, not to give you any work, I believe Roth is listening to the bullpen. We're not getting anything as far as data historically for Minnesota. Yeah, still no matching historical data for Minnesota. We did have a fire emoji earlier today, but still nothing, which I don't know. I think it's pretty hot in Minnesota. I took a quick peek. Obviously it's not what Roth's going to give you, but the interwebs told me apparently it's about 75 degrees in Milwaukee today with the roof open. You have anybody that's going to homer? Who's going to bang out a homer today? Well, feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be, and feel free to take some Rangers. I can see you doing that, or maybe some Diamondbacks.
Yeah, let me do this. So let me go off the slate for a second. This is a guy that I like off of the slate. So this isn't someone that you can get into your lineups. But we understand that some people, are going to be on the sports books, or they're going to be on some of the pickup sites. I like Jorge Soler today against Yusei Kikuchi. So Soler's been a guy even this season where doesn't strike out nearly as much to left-handed pitching, 22% K rate to lefties, 538 WOBA, 526 ISO. And he's going to see a whole lot of fastballs. So we've got Kikuchi throwing about 41% fastball. And as we can see here, on the fastball, Jorge Soler, 17.6% K rate, 687 WOBA, 793 ISO. Definitely like Jorge Soler. It's insane.
Not to cut you off, but so Jorge Soler's numbers versus lefties today, I know the sample's not huge, but it's completely outrageous. He's like breaking everything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
So I really like him. That's off of the slate. Okay, so I did want to get that in. As we bring it back to the slate, I think there's a handful of guys that we can look at. Obviously, this one isn't going to be a secret. I definitely like Corbin Carroll today against Colin Ray. Corbin Carroll's another guy where, the power numbers look good. The K rate isn't anything near insane. He's at a 22% K rate, has a 350 ISO. Obviously, you guys know that I like Milwaukee, so we're going to go with Rowdy Tellez, 24% K rate, 223 ISO. And this one, I think, is possibly a little bit more off the beaten path, just slightly. And so when I was kind of looking at this particular date, I said, well, this one I think is sneaky, Dean. This one to me is sneaky. And it's, well, not as sneaky as we think. Johan Oviedo has historically had trouble with left-handed hitters. I'm going to side with Cody Bellinger to send one out of the park today against Johan Oviedo.
Does Cody Bellinger have his number? Is that fair to say?
Oh, no. That's not it at all.
Somebody in chat was just talking about St. Louis being terrible this year. I missed the comment now. I apologize. So St. Louis has been terrible this year versus lefties. They're going to do nothing today. For what it's worth, like they haven't been the best team in baseball like they were last year versus lefties, but a 104 WRC plus that's 4% better than the average team versus lefties. That's their active roster. If you look at their ISO, that's not great at 17, but it's not been horrific. They've been okay. It's just, again, the standard they set last year and the ballpark jump and the bullpen that's lurking there for Washington's really rough if things turn ugly. So I do like myself some Cards today. We should have mentioned we were talking about Stroman. Pittsburgh's their best hitter, Brian Reynolds, is not in that lineup. So if you like Stroman before, bump him up incrementally as well. He's a bit pricey, better price on DK as opposed to Fanduel. But Fanduel really well positioned to get that quality start. The QS we mentioned before, he's got 13 starts this year, where he's got at least 6 and giving up 2 earned runs or less, which is the highest in all of baseball. I do see Kevin Roth popping in. There it is. Little Hans and Franz over there. STL Cards and Kirkwood and his Juggalo bombs as well. Roth, did you happen to catch what I was throwing out there before? What's going on with Minnesota? Why are we we have no historical data for the weather currently in Minnesota according to Weather Edge? Earlier in the day, it had the fire emoji. That's why I was excited about it. It's gone away. I don't know if the weather has changed. I don't know if there's some kind of wonkiness at Weather Edge. And also there's reports that apparently the roof's going to be open in Milwaukee. And I'm curious if you have a take as far as the weather in Milwaukee. I don't mean to hit you with this out of nowhere, but if you can sort of do this stuff on the fly or at some point, I would appreciate it. I would assume some people, some of the viewers would appreciate it as well.
Yeah. I'm surprised there's no similar weather games. It's warm in Minnesota, but that happens in the summertime at 87 degrees, winds blowing in from right at about 10. It's surprising that there's no sample size on that, but there isn't. So that's that. In the meantime, I can look up what we've got going in Milwaukee.
Kirkwood, does your model have anything for Minnesota? This is where you can be you can come in out of nowhere and save the day.
The dew point model.
He's on mute. Look at this. It's time to shine and nothing. We can't hear a word he's saying. He's still talking though. He's going to be tilting any second now.
I'm on mute.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting that Roth just asked me about my dew point model, but claimed on previous shows that I didn't have one. So maybe a little food for thought out there. Maybe the cease and desist was true. Maybe. I have nothing. Let me see. Pull up Minnesota.
You're just
I
stalling.
got 9 miles per hour wind blowing in. I got it's not very humid.
We have that.
It's hot. 87
That's
degrees
not
out there.
proprietary.
No, I can't get into the proprietary stuff because it's still patent pending.
Top shots.
And Dean, to answer your question, in Milwaukee, it's somewhat warm. Temperatures are going to be around 70 degrees, and winds are kind of blowing across the field at about 15 miles per hour. So it's average hitting weather. It's probably slightly better open than closed, but not by a significant amount.
Cards, do you hear me hyping up your Cardinals as you're jumping on? We were talking about STL, and I'm always curious to get your take because it feels like when you write about them, you have a bit of an emotional hedge. Are you on your Cardinals today facing a left-hander?
No, not really. I mean, it's not that I don't think they can win tonight. They have been playing better the last few days. I guess that's a positive sign. But, I know their numbers still aren't horrible against lefties, but it just, I don't know. They don't inspire much confidence to string together a bunch of hits. So they got to get in that bullpen if they want to. I mean, that's kind of what you hinted at as well. Like, if they can work Gore's pitch count, because he does have a tendency to walk guys and rack up high pitch counts and get into that bullpen, I do like the potential tonight. But, pretty far down the list. It's a pretty deep slate.
Will, we got anything else to the boys, or shall we step aside and make way for the FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time?
No, I've created enough trouble today.
Yeah, you're getting into fights with people in chat. You're giving away free premium, possibly, maybe. Making some money for charity as well. That's also that's a good thing we did. We'll see. Myself and Will, we're going to step aside, make way for the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got Kirkwood, you have STL Cards, you have Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff as always, guys. Welcome to it. Welcome to Crunch Time. This is sponsored by FanDuel. It is the show where we bring on 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. That includes STL Cards. Justin Van Zuiden. What up, Cards?
Hey, not too much. Should be a really fun slate tonight. Lots of angles to attack, good pitching, good offense, and yeah, it should be a fun one tonight.
Okay, good. There are some good pitchers, and like I kind of want to talk through it. I am intrigued about the pitching here tonight, so I'm looking forward to getting your guys' takes on that. We got Kirkwood as well. What's up, man?
Just living the life, man. Every day I'm just complaining about how hard it is to try to play DFS, sports gamble, and raise a child.
Yeah.
So it's
or really
another
just
day.
like raise a child and anything else.
Yeah.
and anything
sleep.
else. Sleep, have a job, anything. Yes. Not easy, but I'm proud of you. You're doing the Lord's work, man. We do need your takes. Looking forward to getting them. So let's kind of, if you don't mind, Kirkwood, maybe like a zoom out on the slate, and then we'll go through what we're doing with pitchers.
Sure. So this is a pretty crazy slate. Like, there's so many ways you can go, and we're going to get some chalk, and it doesn't feel like it's good chalk. So as far as pitching goes, we have a plethora of pitching tonight, and we have it from like every angle, and we have question marks from a lot of the guys. So we have like a really strong top end that's expensive. So and that's with Garrett Cole, who's been a little bit worse than he has been in years past. Gets a great matchup against Seattle, who strikes out at the third highest clip. They do have some boomer bust. They do have some good bats in there that are fully capable of taking him yards. So it's kind of a boom bust situation for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have Kershaw, who kind of looks like the safest of them all. But then like we say every time he takes the hill, we always have to worry about pitch count. But he's 10.5K on DraftKings. Then we got Framber Valdez, might be the best actual pitcher on the slate. Maybe not the best for DFS, but can be at times. And he's taking on the Mets, who that really low K, they 26th in K percentage against the left. I think I have that right. Anyways, they don't strike out a ton. And then you got Eovaldi, who's the most expensive. And has been very good. Command is great and gets a great matchup against the Chicago White Sox, who are 10th in K percentage, 29th in WRC plus. So very safe matchup too as well. And he's going to be the least owned out of the bunch there. Then we have like a mid-range that's stacked with Kirby, Savali against Oakland. I like Kirby a lot against the Yankees. With Yankees lineup without Judge, Kirby has a low K percentage. But if you look back over his past 5 starts, he's really put some things together. His K rates jump up. Savale. Then we have Justin Verlander in the revenge spot. And then Dylan Cease. So we have pitching everywhere. And then we even have one really cheap guy in my hometown Boston Red Sox, Cutter Crawford, who's finally got stretched out. He does have good stuff. He's got a really good fastball, really good sinker. Other stuff work in progress, command work in progress, but he's facing Minnesota, who's the number 1K matchup in baseball. So that you have a really cheap guy, you have really expensive guys, you got mid-range, so that we can go anywhere you want. Sorry to talk your ear off.
No, that's fine. Let's just dive right into it. Like, where are you going? Because you gave us 7 like legitimate options, really. What do you think is the most beneficial way to go about it, both on DraftKings and, of course, on our sponsor site, Fanduel? By the way, make sure you sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to 1,000 smackaroos. That's dollars in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. Kirkwood, what is your approach here for pitching? And then I want to get Card's thoughts as well, of course.
Yep. So I like Garrett Cole. I'm totally fine with him. People will say, "Oh, he hasn't been the same." It's still in him, and so he would be it's a great matchup for strikeouts. So I think we can give him a boost here. I think he performs. And then I like going down with my boy Cutter Crawford. I'm going to refresh the bat here because they had his base pitch count at like 100 pitches before, which I think is crazy. They stretched him out to 80, so I'm expecting maybe 90 tops if they even let him go that far. But again, it's all about the matchup. Yeah, Cardi has him down as 100. I think that's got to be a mistake, but maybe there's something I don't know. But anyways, so I'm going cheap and stud. But I also have a lineup where I kind of too cheap. Justin Verlander, if he shows up in this game, and he pitched pretty decently in his last game, and yes, he's old. He's pretty old, but you can get a lot of savings with him. If you want to go all the bats route, I have a lineup with Verlander and Crawford too. And the other choice that I'm trying to fit in there is Kirby, and I'm fine with even going Kirby against Cole in the same game.
Okay. Very good. Any other names you want to mention, or you feel like that just about covers what your game plan is here?
I mean, that's my game plan, but like literally all of those options that I gave are in play that I said before. And I know we got to narrow it down. So that's my narrowed down version.
Okay, that's fair. All right, well, let's go to cards here. Cards, start me off on FanDuel, where you need one pitcher. Give me your thoughts on both cash and tournaments, and then we'll kick it to DK.
Yeah, it's tough tonight. I mean, I kind of understand the logic behind just going with Cole in cash games, or Crawford, even if you want to get all the bats on the slate. But in tournaments, I think you're making a mistake if you just eat the chalk tonight, because there are all these options that you guys have talked about already. And to me, on a site where you only get one pitcher and it's such a deep pitching slate, and we've got, Cole and Savale combining for like 35% ownership on FanDuel, I just think you go a different direction in tournaments, largely from a game theory perspective, because there is going to be somebody else that puts up a big performance tonight, or maybe it's, one of these more popular guys, fails. And Savale isn't really a guy that's going to give you much of a ceiling anyway. I know he's facing Oakland, but he doesn't strike anybody out. I just think in GPPs tonight, there's such a pool that you go with one of these other guys. I mean, Uvalde's been one of the best pitchers in the league this year, and they'll let him go 100 pitches. The White Sox can't hit righties, and he's only going to be like 3% owned. At least I've got the bat up right now. Maybe our number is a little bit different, but almost no ownership on Uvalde, almost no ownership on Kershaw. Kirkwood mentioned Kirby, who's fine. I do like Verlander tonight. And look, the stats are what they are with Verlander, and he's obviously, he's been around a long time. And so eventually the numbers are going to fade, and everyone's kind of banking on this being the year where, it's finally all come to a head with him, and he's just not all that great anymore. But the strikeouts are still average, and if he brings his A stuff, I think on the right night, Justin Verlander could still be the highest scoring pitcher on a slate. And if there's a game right now that Justin Verlander is going to get up for and bring his top mental mindset to the table, I'd be willing to bank on that being a road game in Houston. Sure. And again, that's a little bit subjective. If you're just going data-driven stuff, you're not going to probably like Verlander quite as much. But there's like 11 pitchers that are more expensive than him. So it's priced in. He's one of my favorite GPP guys. I think you could maybe even look to a guy like Oviedo or Detmers, or I'd have to be going quite a few lineups deep in order to get there. But I'm fine with going contrarian in tournaments tonight, even on FanDuel. Uvalde and Verlander would be my favorites. Maybe on DraftKings, if you want to play one of the chalky guys plus Uvalde, or one of the chalky guys plus Verlander, I think that's fine. Ben Lively's another guy that I've seen in the mix. I'm not quite as high on him, but it's a really deep slate for pitching, and the guy I'd probably take the highest stand on compared to the field would probably be Verlander.
Okay, so on DK, is the chalk like what, Cole and then Cutter Crawford? Is that kind of...
That will probably be the most
build?
popular build on DraftKings, yes, because it is a deep slate for bats. So being able to get that second pitcher that's really cheap has plenty of value. So let's see. We've got...
Wow, I've got him really low owned.
Yeah, that surprises me. I just pivoted from FanDuel to DraftKings. I think he'll be higher than he's $5,400. I don't think the double ace build makes sense. Kirby will be a little more popular on DraftKings too, because he's 8,700. The field like Savale. I am not a Savale guy at all. I just don't see the appeal. I don't see the ceiling. Even against Oakland, I don't care who he's facing. There's just not a big ceiling with him. I think Crawford will be higher owned than the projections have him, just because, he's saving you like 2K on DraftKings over every other popular pitcher. But I think the double ace, like the Cole Kershaw, I don't think that's optimal for cash tonight, because I think it limits your bats a little bit more than I'd like to have. So maybe it's
for GPPs. For GPPs, is that like a solid build? Is there enough value that you can go with, Double
I don't.
cheapies?
I mean,
Or double
I
spend-up?
don't think it's optimal just because it's too expensive. Like, unless you find a cheap stack that you really like, I mean, it could be, but it's also fairly chalky because right now we show Cole and Kershaw as the two most popular pitchers. Which again, I don't know. I don't either. Either I'm off on my read of the slate, or I'm just I just don't like the chalky guys to where it's clouding my judgment a little bit. But like, if you want to play Savali, go ahead. But give me Verlander, give me Crawford, give me Lively. Kirby's fine as well. I think you got to fade the chalk pitchers tonight.
Okay, very good. Just want to point out we've got 630 people watching and only 100 likes. That is unacceptable. And it's not me that's saying that. It's our sponsor, Fanduel, who is providing this show for free. If you want to keep the show free, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get views for our sponsor, Fanduel, so make sure you're hitting that like for us. Let's talk about some of the bats and the stacks cards. I will let you lead us off in that category.
Yeah, so mentioned it's a deep slate, but there isn't one single offense that jumps off the page. The highest kind of gross ownership is probably going to be Cleveland. I am almost always underweight on Cleveland. That won't change tonight. So Jose Ramirez is great. The rest of Cleveland, just not an offense that generally has a big enough ceiling. Again, they're facing Oakland, so I get it. But if I'm going somewhat chalky, I think I prefer Cleveland or Cincinnati over Cleveland tonight. Give me the other Ohio team. I think Milwaukee, Arizona, are a couple of the other top end teams that I would play over Cleveland tonight. If you're looking to go a little sneakier, the Cubs could be in that mix. Even though I like Crawford, you could throw Minnesota in the stacking mix as well. But yeah, I'd say my highest exposure probably is Cincinnati, Arizona, Milwaukee tonight.
Very good. I should note there is a few games where you have a chance of a delay. That includes Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Washington. I don't think we're going to see a delay in any of those games. We're talking maybe a 10% chance of a delay in each of them.
But Washington might delay when it's not even raining.
God, don't even freaking remind me about those idiots. Yeah.
No, they have a good pitcher on the mound tonight. So
all right. Well, hopefully
they love to do that when they're
when they've got their fifth pitcher going and the other team's got the ace.
Yeah.
God, I hate Washington. Anyways, thanks for riling me up, Cards. I don't think we're going to see any shenanigans. I think things are going to be fine here. Kirkwood, talk to me about your favorite stacks tonight.
Yeah, I just want to add one last thing on pitcher that we kind of glossed over. So when I'm looking at our competitors, us, I look at everybody what's spitting out optimizers. Ben Lively is getting probably the most love, and I'm showing him as being somewhat owned tonight too against Colorado. That's the pitcher for Cincinnati. I'm fading him. I don't think he's very good at all. Now, and the speaking to the Cutter Crawford ownership, Cutter, if you look at Cutter's game log, it's disgusting. He's been a relief pitcher mostly. The thing is that I dig deeper into the actual pitches that he have and whether I think he can succeed at this level. So I think he's going to be. I don't think he's going to get much ownership. I think he may on FanDuel, like Cards was saying, because he's the only really cheap option. But on DraftKings, I don't think he's going to be. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be much. And I think Minnesota is actually going to be more popular for the bats against him. So if I look at the ownership on tonight's slate for stacks, I'm showing Cleveland, like Cart says, number one, Cincinnati, number two, makes perfect sense. Then there's Arizona, Minnesota, and maybe the Dodgers. But really, there's we're not talking about massive ownership. Cleveland's probably going to get the most, and that's Cleveland and Cincinnati. And these are two teams that aren't the most talented, right? So we're dealing on normally we're talking about the Dodgers, Atlanta Braves, these good teams. These are the chalkiest teams tonight are two bad teams. So do with that information as you will, but I think that makes sense to kind of go against them for the most part. And, it's all spread out all over the place. So the bat, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Minnesota, Dodgers, Colorado, Vegas totals, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Texas, Arizona. I love for a lower owned stack tonight. I love the St. Louis Cardinals. Now I know STL Cards on your reaction card. on that. But like, I think Gore is very, very attackable. Their bullpen is the worst on the slate here. They're bad from a home run standpoint, and it's a good park, nice and humid out there. So, and they line up pretty well against lefties. So I think that's going to be a nice low on stack tonight.
Okay, very good, guys. Let's go position by position here. We have plenty of time, but let's start things off with a little catcher talk. And Kirkwood, you get to lead into it. What do we like?
All right. Well, we've got options all over the place. So the best option probably from a point per dollar is the new prospect from Pittsburgh that they called up, Henry Davis, had his first career double last night. They brought him up strictly for his bat, not his defense. He's batting number 5 in the order tonight, and he's mid-price. So you can plug him in, especially in cash games, and you can use him. I'm fine using him in any type of build if you just need a catcher. Other than that, Wilson Contreras for the Cardinals is popping for me. Has always hit left-handed pitching well. He's struggling a little bit this season, especially with his K rate, which his K rate is up. I know Cards will never get on board with this after when he's traveled and watched live, but. Anyway, so there's Diaz for Houston, who's getting the cleanup spot, who's a home run threat against Verlander. I'm siding with Verlander in this matchup, but I think there's home run upside with Diaz. There's Will Smith. There's Bo Naylor, who was going to be the chalk du jour of the day, batting number 9, which was weird for Cleveland at 2,500. But I think that now that Davis is in the lineup, I think he's going to take away a lot of that ownership, and Bo is going to get a lot less. But it is still the chalky stack against Oakland. Other than that, maybe Alfaro or Diaz for Colorado.
Okay, Cards, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm not in the camp that batting average is everything. But our Cardinals boy Wilson Contreras hit 158 in May, and he's hitting 143 in June. I don't care if you're not going to hit for a high average, but if you're a catcher that the team paid $90 million for 5 years, you better hit better than 158 in May and 143 in June. And we're still throwing him out there in the cleanup spot for reasons that I do not understand. Like it's just been a disaster with Contreras, and I'm not trying to pick on the play by any means. I think the Cardinals are fine tonight if you want to stack them, but the frustrated fan in me doesn't want that many eggs in that basket tonight. So I just don't understand why they keep rolling him out 4th and 5th. At some point you push him down in the order a little bit to try to take the pressure off a little. Yeah, or something. But it is a good matchup for him tonight. There's a video out there of one of his at-bats yesterday where Josiah Gray just said, okay, here it is, hit it. And he threw 3 straight pitches right down the middle, and he swung and missed at all of them. It's been a tough year for him. I hope he gets it going. I think he's fine in Cardinal stacks. I would not play him individually tonight. I think the other guys, Diaz, I like a little bit better. Both Diaz's I think are fine, but I do like Verlander, so I'm not on Houston Diaz tonight, even though he's hitting cleanup. Kirkwood brought up a good point with Henry Davis, who right now is only projected for like 2, 3, 4% ownership. I think he's really interesting at 2K, especially since people are going to play Bo Naylor at 2,500 hitting 9th. So I think that's a good pivot away from him, but we've touched on most of the catchers, I think.
Okay. This is the kid that we played yesterday, right? That was min price last night. And
yep.
Yeah. I mean, if he's
they are facing a good pitcher tonight, but
I see. Okay. That's the difference. All right. Cards. How about first base?
Yeah. So I can ignore Josh Bell chalk. He's fine in cash if you want to, but I'm not playing a chalky Josh Bell even against Oakland. If you're looking to go cheap, I'd probably rather spend a little bit more for Naylor. You've got Kirilloff, who hits righties pretty well. He's probably the best point per dollar Minnesota bat if you're on them tonight. This is a spot where I think playing Goldschmidt is fine. He's the one Cardinal bat that I'd feel comfortable with against a lefty, patient hitter, and he's got homers 2 of the last 3 games. So he's looked a lot better. He is obviously expensive, but if you're trying to prioritize, which Cardinals bat to spend up for tonight, I think Goldschmidt's probably the best one. Joey Votto's back for Cincinnati. I think he's a touch too expensive, but would certainly be fine in red stacks as well.
And did he go yard the other day?
He did go yard last night in his first game back.
There you go. Okay, very good. Kirkwood, what are your thoughts at first?
Yeah, so I love Paul Goldschmidt on the high end, which Cards mentioned. I also agree. Josh Bell has just been not very good. I think if you're going to play someone from that team, you just pay up and you play Naylor. I think much more upside, although you're paying a little bit more. I don't know what to make of Joey Votto. I thought he was like the easiest fade in the world yesterday, and he comes out and hits a home run and hits 3 balls incredibly hard, defying the age model. So he's going to be popular tonight. Again, I'm not going to be on him, but he's worth mentioning. Christian Walker brings a lot of home run upside in the matchup for Arizona. Then there's Freddie Freeman on the high end. Cheap guy against Savali who's going to be popular would be Noda, 2,600 for Oakland. He's got some pop. I like that. And then I don't know. Rowdy Tellez is, he's had a really good beginning of the season. He's just been terrible for so long. He's in a good spot against a bad pitcher. If there's ever a time for him to do something, it would be tonight, but I'm still skeptical.
Yeah. All right. Take me to second base, Kirkwood.
Second base. So you're gonna get some kind of the chalk here is going to be from Cincinnati game with India or McLean, who's second base eligible on DraftKings, 4,500, 4,800. Both have upside. Andres Jimenez brings a little bit of pop, but more so speed to the table at 3,700, batting 6th against Oakland and for Cleveland. Perdomo is leading off for 3,800. He's second base or short eligible. He's been really solid. And I like the Diamondbacks in general, and you can go on the high end with Kettle Marte. They work for your dollar. They're always trying to steal. If they're not, they're doing everything they can to score fantasy points. So I'm on board with them all around. Jose Altuve on the high end, Marcus Semien. That's kind of where I stop.
Okay. Cards.
Yeah, I like the Arizona guys. The call there. Perdomo is shortstop only on Fanduel, but on DraftKings he is second and short, and I probably would play him at second. Position is somewhat weak tonight. Otherwise, I think Kirkwood hit on most of the options. Miguel Vargas, another semi-cheap option. He's hitting 5th for the Dodgers tonight. Julian leading off for Minnesota. Again, if you're not on Crawford, is fine as a value. I like Crawford as a pitcher tonight, so I'm a little bit lower on the Minnesota bats. You got India and McLean for the Reds. The Reds are another team. Kirkwood mentioned Arizona. The Reds are another team that will run at every opportunity. So McLean, India are in the mix as well. But I like Arizona. I like Cincinnati, and you got a couple options from each of those teams there that you could play at second tonight.
Very good. How about third base, Cards?
All right, so Jose Ramirez is probably the top overall bat on the slate. I don't love Cleveland as a whole, but I love Ramirez. He could potentially another time they were facing a weak pitcher, and I faded the rest of Cleveland and played some Ramirez. Ramirez hit 3 homers. So, he's always capable of doing that by himself, and you don't have to play the rest of the Cleveland bats. So I like Ramirez. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz is going to get his ownership. Both of those guys are expensive. This is a spot where I probably would look to spend up because I just like Ramirez far and away above the other guys at this position tonight. There's other, Arenado, Devers are expensive options that you can play. There's certainly tournament pivots away from Ramirez because it's not like those guys are bad. And I'd imagine that Kirkwood, he likes the Cardinals, so he might like Arenado as a pivot from Ramirez. And I think that's a fine argument that you could make tonight. Otherwise, if you're looking to go cheap, there's not a ton here. Like Evan Longoria, I like Arizona, but Longoria against a righty. Jeimer Candelario is fine. Justin Turner's fine, but I think this is just a position where you try to spend tonight.
Kirkwood, you spending up here third?
I do like Jose Ramirez. I just wanted to. So it seems like I have a fan, Jason B. Here, who obviously. I said a comment about his Cleveland team. I'm just saying that Cleveland as a team, they can be one thing, but we're looking for DFS points. They're dead last in home runs in the league. So that's what I'm alluding to is DFS points. No, not trying to beef with people in chat. Anyways, Jose Ramirez is the one. EDLC. It's cooled off a little bit, Roth, but you know us. We're gonna plug him in, right? We're not stopping, right?
I don't care if he doesn't have a hit in a month. Like, he's the fastest, strongest human in the universe, and I've never seen bat speed like that. So I'm gonna play him. And if he doesn't get a hit, cool, he'll be cheaper. Like, the dude is amazing. Play him. I
played him yesterday. I'm going back to the well today. Ryan McMahon, 4,300, has a lot of upside. Arenado is probably my second or third favorite play. I have a third. I'm definitely going to have some of him tonight, just so I can, stick it to Cardi if he comes through with a home run.
It's so worth it just for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's extra Sklansky bucks for that in general. Like, there's more EV with that. You gotta think those things through. Rafael Devers, sure, anytime. Gonna get lower. He's gonna be lower on because all the ownership. He's a little more expensive than Ramirez, but he's struggled a little bit too as well. But massive upside. Other than that, I guess like a low-owned Manny Machado. No one's gonna play him, I don't think, at 5,400.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. How about shortstop?
Shortstop. Rosario is going to get the most action here just because he's cheap, 3,400. He has some sneaky power. He's got some speed. Batting second against Oakland, but I'm more so. He's a good cash play for sure. In tournaments, I'm trying to beat him with guys like EDLC, with Matt McLean, with paying up for like a Corey Seager, even Perdomo at 3,800. Trying to find a kind of out there play, but those are my plays. Mookie you can play. He's shortstop eligible.
Sure. All right, Cards, your thoughts at short?
So let's play a game, Roth. I looked this up while Kirkwood was talking because he mentioned Cleveland was last in home runs. Mm-hmm. For context, almost every team is somewhere between 70 and 75 games played on the season. The Braves lead the league with 126 bombs as a team. Roth, how many home runs do you think Cleveland has as a team in?
I mean, it's 65.
Okay. 65. The Reds have 65. They're ranked 27th. The Rockies have 62. The Nationals have 54, and Cleveland has 46 home runs as a team in 71 games. So the Braves have almost 3 times as many home runs as the Guardians do in 70 some odd games. So it just goes to the point that this Cleveland offense has shown no consistent power upside, but yet everybody's playing them because they're facing Oakland. But in order for Cleveland to have that game where they just break the slate, it's not going to be with 8 homers. They're going to have to string 6, 7, 8 hits in an inning, and that's just harder to do. So that's why both of us have kind of bashed on Cleveland a little bit. It's just because they're going to be so popular. So
sure. No, that's fair.
I don't have much to add at shortstop other than I'll be underweight Rosario for said reason. I prefer Perdomo in that price range, even Correa in that price range. Paul DeYoung, if you're power.
Yes,
hunting,
I was wondering if you were gonna mention that. I was curious. He's the guy.
No, he is who he is at this point. He's going to hit about 220. But when he connects, he can hit it a long way. So at shortstop, especially if you're going cheaper, there's not a lot down there tonight. So I do think that he's okay, even though he plays for the Cardinals.
Okay. Very, very good. That takes us to the outfield. Cards, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I saw the updated All-Star voting here earlier this afternoon, and Corbin Carroll as a rookie is right now on pace to start in the All-Star game. which is incredible. I mean, he's basically got the rookie of the year locked up as long as he's on the field for most of the rest of the year. So kudos to him. I mean, you can make a case for him as one of the top overall bats on the slate. Power, speed combo. Obviously, he's pricey now, but I like Arizona a good bit. So he would be the higher end guy that I would prioritize ahead of, Yelich and some of those other guys. Mookie, I like Carroll the best. TJ Friedel in the mid range, probably my favorite play in there. Seiya Suzuki is hitting third for the Cubs tonight, and he's only 3,500 on DraftKings. He's another option that you can consider in the mid range. Jordan Walker has been on fire for the Cardinals. He would be my number 2 Cardinals choice after Goldschmidt. He's $3K on DraftKings. He's 2,900 on FanDuel. He's got moved up to 5th in the order. Joey Gallo can always get a hold of one as a power threat for GPPs. I'll save some options here for Kirkwood.
Okay, Garth, your thoughts?
I have the same thoughts. I mean, Corbin Carroll is electric. The only way to put. I mean, he does everything. He hits for power. And he steals bags at every opportunity, and that's what we like. Tatis has major upside tonight. Not going to be extremely high owned. Trying to think who else. You mentioned a lot of the same guys I already liked. I mean, I love Jake Fraley tonight. I just want power against Davis of Colorado, and so he's the home run guy, the highest chance of hitting 1 or potentially 2, unless you believe in that Joey Votto is back to prime Joey Votto. Jordan Walker, this is Mean Dean's guy. I'm finally coming around to him. Top prospect, starting to play like it, moving up in the order to 5th for 3K. Like I said, I'm playing St. Louis tonight. Other cheap bets are there cheap bets on the Cubs, like Suzuki is cheap at 3,500. Obviously, Tauchman leading off is cheap. I mean, that's a very easy cheap stack that does have some upside here against Oviedo and Pitt. Oviedo has good stuff, but like bad command and placement. He just never, and so he hangs pitches. He makes a lot of mistakes out there. So the Cubs could certainly go off. And then I want nothing to do with Savali chalk, so I keep looking for any Oakland A's that have some upside, and Ruiz has upside at least on the base paths.
If this wasn't such a large slate, I'd like Oakland as a stack against a chalky or kind of low strikeout pitcher. It's probably a little bit too thin on a slate this large, but I didn't really mention any of them individually, but I agree with that thought. I think
like more like mini stacks, or like if you need a one-off, like you can like playing Ruiz for steal upside, or a couple of their power guys up front like Rooker or Noda. I'm on board with Seth Brown, maybe even, but that's about it. But that's it.
Okay, great. We got a few QQs coming in. Of course, Tony 2 times. You get the papers. Says, how about some homers for you? That was a Goodfellas reference, I think.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Kirkwood, drop me some home run picks.
Okay, so Ryan McMahon. Lively is not a very, very good pitcher. People are going to be playing him tonight. Ryan McMahon is the home run upside for the Colorado side, so I like him. Also a Juggalo bomb tonight, if that means anything to the people in here. Watch the regular shows, and I like Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt to go yard tonight. Hope that happens for my lineup's sake.
Very good,
and that's it.
That'll work. Cards, you got a couple names for me?
So as a Cardinals fan, I'm very superstitious. So when things start working for them, we have to repeat them. So I called a Jordan Walker homer on the show on Saturday, and then he hit a homer and they won. So we're going to do that again. So we'll throw Jordan Walker out there, and I think he's still around like plus 500, 550 to hit a home run in some spots. So I'm not going to go crazy with the Cardinals, but I do like Jordan Walker. And then I also like Arizona a good bit tonight. They don't have, power throughout their lineup, but Christian Walker, always a good potential bet for a bomb as well. So Walker and Walker for me tonight.
Okay. I love it. Let's get to some QQs here. I'm diving into the RG Discord. That's where the cool kids are hanging out. The cool kids are also hitting us with a thumbs up, so make sure you do that for us. FanDuel Cash cards, Friedel or Fraley?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I don't think you're necessarily doing it wrong either way. I would probably lean towards Friedel in cash because he's leading off, and I think maybe gives you a little more stolen base potential. I like Fraley a little better in tournaments.
Okay. Let's see. DK Cash, Kirkwood, this one's for you. It is a 3v3. It's Kirby, Jeffers, Jones, or Cole, Davis, Couchman.
I'm trying to think. I mean, I like Cole better for cash. And was it Tauchman?
Yeah, it was Cole, Davis, Tauchman.
Okay, yeah. Tauchman. Yeah, I would take the second option.
Okay, very good. Single entry, Kirkwood, right back to you here. This appears to be a 2v2. I'm playing the chalk in Cincy and Cleveland. Do you like Rowdy Tellez and Tauchman or Josh Naylor and Alec Thomas?
I think the popular answer is probably going to be the first selections, but I'm kind of off of that, and I give me the second.
Okay, very good. Carolina guy says Cards favorite stack in a FanDuel single entry. You got one stack single entry. Where are you going?
It's not Cleveland. I think if you're looking to be semi chalky, and still, with that upside, I think maybe Cincy. If you're looking to go off the board a little bit more, actually, scratch that. Let me go Arizona over Cincy in a single entry. If you're looking to go off the board, give me the Cubs.
Very good. All right. FanDuel cash questions. Cards, I'm going to give both of these to you. Is it a Moose Taco Tuesday or a Rowdy Tellez?
It's not Moose Taco any day anymore. The dude is... He's past. Yeah, he's not in Coors tonight. Sometime, maybe in Coors he can get a hold of one. He hasn't even been able to do that very well. I didn't even let you finish the question before I started bashing Moustakis, but I think Tellez was the other option.
It was. Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
we'll take him.
And then the next one was J-Ram or Ellie de la God. Those are his words, not mine.
I think it's got to be Ramirez tonight. As much as we all like Ellie, Ramirez just in that matchup tonight. It's tough to ignore. And while we all like Ellie and he's going to be, a star, he hasn't really shown much for power the last week or two. So give me Ramirez tonight.
Okay. Let's see. Kirkwood, what are your thoughts on fading Cole in FanDuel cash and siding with the likes of Verlander and Savali in single entries?
Wait, fading him in cash?
That was what he said. And instead going with the likes of Verlander and Savali.
Okay, in cash. I think Savali is a fine cash play. I would take Cole. But if there were GPPs, the other options are fine.
Okay. Jump in real quick over to the YouTube chat here. McLean or India, Kirkwood, in a DK GPP?
They're like very similar plays, but I have McLean tonight, and I had that exact same question for myself, my own lineup, and I chose McLean.
Very good. On DK cards from Richie Smalls, you want Walker and DeYoung or McCarthy and Perdomo?
I like Arizona a little bit better. So, like the Cardinals guys grade out the best there with just that pairing. So, as a stack, I like Arizona. But if you're just individually picking bats, I presume that's Jordan Walker, not Christian in that question. But I do like the Cardinals guys a little bit better with just that 2v2.
Okay, great. Royal Priest says cards Jack Sawinski or Cody Bailey.
Yeah, both guys are in play for tournaments because they're super risk reward. Sawinski has a ton of pop, but I don't think this is the best matchup for him against a ground ball pitcher that tends to pick his spots pretty well. So give me Bailey tonight.
Okay, we got about 4 minutes here until lock, and Ashvin Suresh says, who are my must-have cash bats on DK? Kirkwood, who are just a couple guys that you feel like at that position, at that price, you feel like should be a part of your lineup?
I was just looking at 2 DK cash lineups. So I think with getting Henry Davis for min price at catcher, it kind of unlocks the world, and you don't have to play like a Savale or someone. You can play Kershaw and Cole for pitching, and with that, you can still get a lot of really strong bats. And I think so that would be on the Cleveland side for cash, which would be Jose Ramirez is a must. And then you could also play Ahmed Rosario, and then depending how you do it, you would play Naylor or Josh Bell. And if you played Josh Bell, you could figure around and get like a Corbin Carroll for the high end. But if you play Naylor, you could probably get like a Friedel would be like the high end bat over there. But
okay, great answer. All right, FanDuel Cash in the util cards. This one's for you, Alec Thomas or Alfaro.
Give me Thomas.
Okay. Morgan. Oh, no, just did that one. Anthony says, cards right back to you. Juan Ramirez or Fraley Friedel.
They didn't specify format.
Nope. Did not mention it.
I mean, I think that's the Cleveland guys in cash, but definitely the Cincinnati guys in tournaments.
Very good answer. All right. Your favorite two pitchers, Kirkwood, in DK Cash. You're playing a cash lineup. What do you think is the smartest pairing?
I think that, like I said, Henry Davis unlocks the world. So I think you can go Kershaw, Cole, and feel pretty damn safe in cash tonight.
I like it. All right. Dave Jones says, who is the – I'll get to that one, Josh. My bad. I missed it. Dave says, which is the lowest owned catcher in a DK single entry cards? I'm coming to you. Lowest owned catcher on DK single entry. I don't fully understand that question.
Yeah, I don't either.
Who's the worst play on the slate? He wants to know.
Who's the shittiest guy we can play?
Riley Adams, I guess, is the official answer based on the ownership. I mean, if you're talking about
who's a lower owned guy,
lower owned catcher that you can roster,
sure.
Let's see. Assuming he's in the lineup, Gary Sanchez is interesting for tournaments. The Padres weren't out yet, and I haven't checked to see. Like Jonah Heim, these are guys that have at least shown some pop, but have to face pretty good pitchers tonight. And this is if we assume Henry Davis is going to be more popular. Like Kirkwood's been talking up Henry Davis, and I agree. Like the bat has Henry Davis at 2% ownership, which I just don't think is probably accurate.
Yeah.
But if that's true, then he's the answer.
Okay. All right. Very good. Kirkwood, do you have the bat? Can you pull up the bat here? Josh would like to know the projected pitch count for Lugo and Disco.
Tony Disco, Anthony DiScalfani. Okay, so
that's a great nickname.
Yeah, I made that up. That nickname actually.
That is a 10 out of 10.
No. Anyways, pitch count for Lugo. The bat has him as from a baseline 94.
Okay.
Hold on. Projected pitch count. Wait, PPC is projected pitch count, right?
Yeah, we should. Lugo's at 74 from what I can see. Yeah, I think that might even be high. I mean, he's just coming back.
Yeah, I see 72. And then who was the other one? Tony Disco at 90.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's see here. Adames or Perdomo from James. Carts, you got an answer there? Adames or Perdomo?
Yeah, give me Perdomo.
Michael Miller says India or Votto, Kirkwood. Last piece of a Cincy stack. You are off Votto, but I guess maybe in a stack, this is a different.
I just can't click Joey Votto. That's just my own problem. So I would click India.
Okay, that's fair.
Ageist, Kirkwood. Ageist.
Yeah.
I didn't say my reason.
but it's kind of obvious. Hey, guess what? We have done it, ladies and gentlemen. We've hit the lock. We're going to bounce on out of here. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up action. This is good free. This is great free content. A couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. We do this each and every day. So make sure not only do you hit thumbs up, you also hit the subscribe. I think it tells you when we go live, and then that will help things out. We are going to bounce on out of here, though. So 4 cards for Kirkwood for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. We appreciate you. We love you. You have been crunched.